This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by CoriJaye.com or Cori Jaye on Instagram. That's CoriJaye. Check it out.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how a genre gets made. I have a feeling of gratitude right now as a friend of the show, a long-time episode creator. Cori Jaye is back from the wilds of art making, motherhood, balancing a world that gives you no help, and has somehow danced through the eye of the needle here onto the show today. So I want you to know how much I appreciate it, knowing the context in which you have arrived.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Cori Jaye.
I'm so happy to be back here. It's so nice.
What we will try to do in the show notes is put a list of some of the episode titles that you've appeared in so that people can follow the journey. For those of you who are first-time listeners, we often talk to creatives about their journey becoming creatives. And Cori Jaye has been so generous in coming at so many different watershed moments of her artistic journey to tell us how it's going now. So why don't you tell us a little bit for the first-time listener about who you are and what you do?
All right. So my name's Cori Jaye, Cori Jaye Etienne. So I am primarily a acrylic painter, and I have a painting practice built around selling originals of my work, selling prints of my work and cards of my work as well. And also I have different branches of my business. So one branch of my business is teaching. So I teach classes online to people as well as in person. And then on top of that, I also have a mentoring practice where I help typically other artists and creatives bring their practice online. So people who aren't familiar with how Instagram works but want to start an Instagram account, I'll help them build their Instagram account and teach them how to highlight their strengths and show their work online to connect with people. I also help people build websites for their career and that kind of thing, but it's really targeted at creatives and how to bring their practice online. So those are the things I do. And
how did you learn to do all those things? If someone's listening to this mixed bag of talents and skills that you have, you had a career before you jumped off into the art world. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so before I jumped off into the art world, so eloquently stated, I was a marketing manager for a large company, and I had a team of about 25 people that worked for me, and I had a really good job for someone who was quite young. And I was really dissuaded to leave my career to be a full-time artist, and I had to fight through that, and that was really difficult. So not only like pressure from people I work with telling me not to leave, but pressure from my parents telling me not to leave, and my peers were like, "What are you doing?" And I really had to just look within and figure out what was right for me. So I ended up leaving that.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
That pressure you received from your colleagues, do you think it was motivated by the notion that if you can leave, maybe they should leave, but they won't leave, so they don't want you to leave?
No, I think it was their fear, all their fears coming at me. So I was walking through the place I worked one day, and a sales manager came up to me, and she's like, "Aren't you scared? Like, what are you doing?" She literally said to me, "Aren't you scared?" And I was just like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah,
but I feel like that was a reflection on her, not a reflection on me. So,
right. Yeah. All criticisms come from a place of insecurity.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was feeling that, right? So anyway, so yeah, I left and never looked back.
Now, a long time later, The little diagram I drew, by the way, in order to prompt my memory for this conversation is of a high wire performer who has got one thing, balancing one thing in one hand and one thing in another, but then they have to balance a third thing, so they can only use their foot. And now they're standing on the high wire with these three things to balance. And I think in your case, you have the art practice on one side, and you have your family on one side, but then also all of your other hopes and dreams that are not related to those two things. We talked about this a little before we started. Why don't you tell me about this balancing act and how it feels right now?
It feels so challenging. It feels so much more challenging than I could ever imagine, mostly because I have a 6-month-old baby and a 2.5-year-old, and me and my husband, we have no help. Like, there's no one where I can go and drop my kids off at. It's just me and him, and my husband's working full time, and it's just a lot, right? So it's really, really, it's so much harder than I could have ever imagined. We'll put it that way. But, something that keeps me going is I went to, before I had my son, so I had my daughter at the time, but I hadn't had my son yet. And I went to a tarot card reader. And I wasn't really I'd never been to a tarot card reader that reads from cards, really. I had been to a few in the past, but nothing really serious or I don't know. This person was amazing.
In
so I ended
misspent youth.
Pardon?
In my misspent youth, I was a dab hand at tarot reading.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I have a story related to that, but it centers me instead of you. So let's move on.
Well, I'd love to hear that story. But yeah, so I went to this tarot card reader. It was actually an online reading because the lady lived in Nova Scotia. Anyway, I went to her with no expectations, and she was telling me, one thing she told me, besides the fact that I'm going to have a son and he's going to be me and my husband are going to be totally in love with him. And that was so beautiful to hear because I wanted to have a second child at the time. But beyond that, she said to me, you feel like you have no one around you to help you, but there's actually people around you, you and your husband both actually, and they're trying to help you all the time. There's people in your life that aren't family or friends or whatever. There's people that are trying to help you all the time. So you need to accept that help. So anytime someone asks you for help, you need to accept it. So anyway, whenever I feel the stress of not having help, I think about that. And then I think about all the people in my life that are there for me, and then I try and that helps me get through feeling.
I wonder if this tarot card reader was also a Mr. Rogers fan, right? Because isn't there's an entire episode where he talks about when bad things happen, you just look for who's walking towards the bad thing. Those are the ones that are there to help.
Oh,
right.
I love that.
Yeah. So I feel that. So you have teaching. You have art making, you do commissions, you have 2 children at home, and the person that I think most qualified to actually interview at this moment is probably my wife, Tara, who went through that same structure of, the husband is away, working, supportive, loving, all the things that they can be, but right now, not here.
Yes.
Right? And there are still things to do.
Exactly.
And also toddler, also baby, also feed self, also do work.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I just stopped teaching the classes that I was teaching in person because it was too stressful, running home to feed my baby, and it was too much. So I stopped doing that. So right now in life, I'm working on commissions, and I'm doing mentoring through Creative Manitoba. I'm still doing mentoring through my business. So I'm still doing all those things, but I've dialed back some of the in-person teaching where I don't have as much control over my schedule. So that's helped.
Oh, I'm going to be home late tomorrow.
How come?
I'm attempting to dazzle Dave. I'm trying to put together a major income property thing for one of our bigger clients.
Life comes at you pretty fast, to quote Ferris Bueller.
Oh my God.
But acrylic painting, that's slow art. Everything these days is how do you produce content? How do you make stuff fast? But paint on canvas, paint has to dry. Paint has to mix, paint has to set, paint has to do all these things that people take for granted when they're drawing on a tablet. I'm looking at you, Stephen Call. When they're drawing on their tablet, right? How do you balance the, I guess, patience that is required to create a composition so slowly when the world around you is not waiting for anything, especially kids.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's the end of my idea.
I have so many answers to this. I have so many answers, like where to start. So the first thing is, it's interesting that you said acrylic painting is a slow medium, because I literally chose acrylic paint because it is a fast drying medium as opposed to oil paints or watercolor or whatever. I guess watercolor dries pretty fast too, but acrylic paint dries super fast. So I'm able to layer it in a way where I don't have to wait too long to continue on one piece if I want to add another layer. So I really love that about the medium. But also the process is really
to me, it's
slow.
like an eternity.
Yeah.
Like I've worked
So
in acrylics. I find it an eternity that
Yeah.
time. So the fact that you think that's fast, right, is like a different,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, the process is quite slow, but it really helps remind you that to stay in the process. Like right now, for example, I'm working on a piece right now and I'm in the ugly stage. So I believe every painting goes through an ugly stage. It's really like the first stage to the middle stage is ugly. Like everything you do is ugly. What makes the painting beautiful are the layers, all the layers that come through at the end, right? So you really have to push past that like ugly stage and the stage of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is good enough. I don't know if this is going to come together. You really have to like push through that, and it helps teach you patience, which is really important because I'm not a patient person in life in general. So I find that the medium of acrylic painting really helps teach me that. And also like sticking with something that's a process, right? Everything in life's a process. For example, I'm doing weight training right now. And every time I go to a session, I feel so good because I know that it's a process. It's such a slow process. But then you look back, in however many months or however many years, and you're like, wow, look at how far I've come.
Do you think you like weight training because it reminds you of painting, or do you think you like painting and weight training because you enjoy slow processes?
You know what? I'm doing the weight training. I started doing the weight training so I could literally lift my children easier, because the physicality of being a mother or a father, lifting the children are so heavy. Like I literally had a baby. So I went through the process of like giving birth, and then they hand you the baby and they say, okay, take it easy, but then you need to use this 40-pound car seat. So you put the baby in the car seat, and then you're like lifting the car seat, and then the baby's only getting bigger and the car seat's only getting heavier. And then now I have a toddler, right? So I'm like, the toddler starts crying,
and they got to get up on your hips sometimes.
Exactly, right?
Terry used to call it the baby guns. She's
Yeah.
like, check out these baby guns.
Exactly, right. Exactly. So I started doing the weight training primarily to help lift my children and bend down while having a baby attached to me and lifting a toddler and like getting on and off the floor constantly. I wanted to help myself with the physicality of that. And it has really helped with that. Like it's been amazing for that. So, and then also just like feeling good in your body, I think is really important. Like everybody only gets one body. And like I really like the saying, my body is my temple. Like, what can I do to feel good in my body, So like weight training or just like doing my hair or like whatever. Anyway, I feel like this is a little very
watching someone get towed away out of the parking spot.
So the parking angels can come. And
when we were riding up here, Cori Jaye said, "Oh, I think the parking angels helped me out. There was a spot." I was like, or it was the parking devils that towed the person away just before you arrived.
Yeah, and I was like, I had never thought about that perspective, but thank you for sharing it with me.
Right? Depends on what side you're on, I
Yes.
suppose. Okay, so in the process of making art, one thing we rarely do on the show is get really into the grains of the elements of art. So this is my old art teacher brain kicking in now. So the main elements of art are, of course, line. And when you connect enough lines, you get a shape. If you connect enough shapes, you get form. If you add texture and value and color, that's when you start to play with composition and meaning in your work. If movement gives shape to form, which we, of course, are stealing from Da Vinci. A bird is the shape it is because of the medium that it moves through. A fish is the shape it is because of the medium it moves through. What is the shape of your art practice now because of the medium it's moving through, which is your life already in progress?
Oh my God, it's organic. It is an organic blob. And that blob weaves through. It can get really small. It can expand. It can weave around all these obstacles.
Like an octopus.
Like an octopus.
Cephalopod,
Yes.
right?
Total octopus vibes.
Right.
Yes.
What I like about the noble octopus is that except for its beak, it can put any part of itself through any place that its little one hard part can go. We all have a little hard part, and what I mean by that is like the part you don't want to compromise over, right? You'll change your shape as an artist lots of different ways, lots of different times, but there'll be a part of you that's like, that's too much. That shape isn't changing. Do you feel that you have that? Have you held on to a piece?
I definitely think the painting practice. Like the painting practice, like I will give up teaching a little bit. I will give up some mentoring clients. I will give up blah, 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 blah. But like I will not give up painting because it is a part of me. It's not like a job. It is like a part of me. It's like when I paint, I fuel myself with energy and good vibes. So if I'm not doing that, then I'm not able to like be of service to my family as well.
Do you have a core memory, an anchor memory of the first time that you felt that way related to making something?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Like it's just been there the whole, like as long as you can remember?
It's as long as I can remember. Actually, I do have one. So when I was about 5, I used to sit in my closet by myself and take Kleenexes and markers, and I would dab markers all over the Kleenex. Actually, I think they were paper towels. They're a little bit thicker paper towels. And then I would take a little spray bottle of water and spray them and watch the colors expand.
Oh my gosh. If anyone Googles Cori Jaye's artwork right now, you will see this is right there.
Very on brand. Yes,
Oh,
very on brand.
yeah.
I used to sit there and watch the colors expand, and I would have like 10 or 15 like paper towels of colors expanding around me, and then they would all dry, and I would sit there and I would like gather them up. And right now,
So you just let the capillary action take the ink.
that's right. So I would make all the different dots. What they were like those smelly markers that come in all different
Oh,
colors.
I remember that.
I'd make lines and dots and shapes, and then I'd spray them with water, and then they would just like all the colors would bleed together and expand. And I was like, whoa. And it's so cool because right now my daughter, she really loves playing with something that my mom got for her called Scribble Scrubbies. And they're like these little, there's like these little characters, and you draw with them with markers, and then you like wash them, and then the colors come off. And instead of doing that, sometimes she'll take like the Kleenex that's beside her and start to like color on the Kleenex and play with the water with the Kleenex and like watch the colors expand. It just like blows my mind because it brings me back to that memory that I used to do that. So instead of like getting upset and being like, don't take the Kleenex, or like you're using too much Kleenex, I just like allow it because I feel like it's a creative process that I don't want to stop.
Hi, Daddy.
What's the matter, honey? You don't feel so good? You feel like you want to throw up?
Okay.
Gil, why are you just standing there? Oh, sweetie.
Waiting for her head to spin around.
It occurs to me often that if certain advancements, technologies, practices, or materials didn't exist at the time I was around, my life would be completely different. Like there is so much about being on a early like version 1 Macintosh computer sitting beside my mother that taught me not to distrust technology and its uses at the same time as having my coloring books and my drawing books, all things that someone else had to make and manufacture in order for me to have that means of self-expression. Like what, you know, does it ever occur to you that like if not for that closet, those markers and that spray bottle and that paper, like where you might be?
I don't really think about that specifically. However, that's interesting to think about. But along the same
They'll begin
lines,
to terrify you late at night.
right? Exactly. Now that's all I'll think about. But along the same lines, I do think about how I was taking graphic design, how I took graphic design, and how there was a 10-year period after I took graphic design that I was like, why did I take that program? Like, what a waste of time that was. Or like, why did I take that? Like, searching for answers. And then it all became clear when I started my own career, how valuable those skills were. And now I use those skills to help other people.
Why did you take it in the first place, though?
So that's a very good question. And let me answer that question. I was going to Ontario College of Art and Design at the time, and I was living in Toronto, and I hated it. And it just wasn't a good path for me in Toronto. So I decided to move back to Winnipeg. And at the time, my dad was like, okay, well, you need to make money. And the only way you're going to make money as an artist is to be a designer, a graphic designer. So you need to go take graphic design. So I was like,
benign advice,
okay,
but yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, that's very...
My parents said, if you want to draw all day, you should probably be an architect.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Benign advice.
Other people connections,
help.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay. So I went and took graphic design. And then after the 2 years of the program were up, they had the work placement where they would like place you in different places. So they placed me in one of my work placements. And I remember like rocking back and forth in front of the computer. And then like can't wait for lunchtime kind of thing. And then one of the people came over and they were like, hey, can you go get us some milk around the corner? And I was like, I would love to. And I like took the money while like skipping down the street to go get milk. I was like, hey, this is like not for me. This is
quart of milk.
Yeah, just too much computer
bread,
time.
butter.
It was too much. So the fact that I was happy to get up and leave is like not a good sign, right?
Mm.
So anyway, that's why I took graphic design in the first place. It was kind of like a choice that was made for me. And no one ever, not once in my entire life did anyone say to me, you should go into fine art, or like, why don't you be an artist?
So
never once.
Now that I'm a decrepit old man and I have children of my own who are growing up and challenging the authorities around them, it occurs to me I've made peace with all of the things that I used to think were mistakes my parents made. This is not to say that they didn't make mistakes. That's not what I'm claiming. All parents make mistakes. What I'm saying is I have made peace in the following way. And it comes from a Maya Angelou quote, which is, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So to my parents who valued education, who wanted me to have more than they had because they had more than their parents had, and both of their parents had grown up in abject poverty and they had done well by that comparison. So they hoped I would take the next level. To them, architect is the move to make if you're into drawing and you're creative. That's just the world as they saw it, right? That's not the world as I saw it. And I make peace with the fact that that was not them trying to make me like them. It's that it was the only choice available to them from a certain point of view.
Totally.
Right.
And I feel like there's two things I have to say about that. The first thing is that I believe that there's multiple truths in the world. I don't believe in one truth. So like their truth and your truth could both be true, but they're different truths.
Yeah, two things can be true at the same time.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing. It's the second thing.
The best part about this is that if there's a long pause between you remembering the second thing, he will cut around it with a little clip.
But I'm going to keep the snapping. That was awesome.
Yeah, the snapping was kind of good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just
Truth.
really losing it.
Truth. You were talking about truth.
Okay,
Right?
so...
Parents and how they sometimes let us down, but they don't mean to.
Yes. Okay. So the second thing is that the things that go wrong and the adversities in our life help shape us and do help make us stronger. So I think about this all the time with my children. It's like things that have gone wrong, quote unquote, or things that didn't feel good or things that were not positive experiences for us help to show us what we want, help to show us what we don't want, and help to steer us in the direction that we should be going. So really, I agree. I've made peace with all these things too, because it's brought me to where I am. It's helped shape who I am. And there's really, life is not just like living in an easy bubble.
I find it, though, because I have made peace with it. And my sisters, I don't think have. Oh, this is truth talk now. I don't think they've made peace totally with some of it. I'll say at the family gathering, I'll point out the error that I'm fine with now. But it's like there used to be this layer of things that I wouldn't talk about because you don't bring that up because you don't want anyone to have
You don't
bad
upset, yeah.
right now. I'm fine with it. So like we can talk any way you want about it because it will not bring out a reaction in me. But when it starts to bring out reaction in other people, I'm like, oh right, this is still a family. We can burn this whole thing down with the wrong phrase if we're not careful, right? So
that reminds me of that clip. I don't know if you've seen that clip from the show The Bear where they're at the dinner table and then like someone says something. People have remixed it a lot on.
I haven't seen The Bear.
And it's a family dinner party and then everyone gets like super upset and starts fighting. I haven't seen it either, but I've only seen the clip and people have dubbed over like artist memes on it that are like really hilarious.
I actually stopped watching The Bear because of that scene.
Oh, really?
Just the most stressful. It's a Christmas.
It's a
Christmas dinner.
Yes.
Oh. It's the worst Christmas dinner you could ever imagine. And it's his family.
See, I haven't seen
I can imagine a pretty bad one.
Right? Wow. So that brings me back to that.
We
like,
see the world
so
as we
dysfunctional.
are.
Yeah,
right.
And also, I feel like that speaks for you, Greg. I feel like that speaks to all the work that you've done on yourself to become who you are.
Oh, so far to go, though. Like, no, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. There's just a few things that I no longer lose my shit about.
That's so wonderful because that speaks to work that you've done, like your inner work that you've done. And that speaks to you being more comfortable around other people and being able to talk about things that maybe some other people haven't done work in that specific area that makes them uncomfortable, you know?
I think in my case, it has more to do with the accidental treasure I found in the right life partner, who now 25, 26 years later is still encouraging me to like, give it a try. It's not going to go well. Yeah. Oh man, that, have you ever, she'll say, so I want to bring something up that I've seen you doing over the last few years. And then I know I'm like, uh-oh, because there's no escape. She's been collecting the receipts for years in the most loving way she could. She's like, have you ever considered that maybe the reason you say that is because of all of these things that you're just reacting to negatively and you want other people to feel it somehow because you can't get back at that person then? And I was like, well, no, but now I can't see it any other way. And I guess I have to be aware of that. So that's really part of that treasure of having the right person.
Totally.
And one thing we have in common in the child rearing is that, even though mine are much older, Tara and I also, despite coming from large families, there was no help. There was no one showing up to help pick up the kids. No one showing up to look after them. There was nobody to like swoop in and be the village.
It makes me really want to be that person in the future for other people. That's how I feel about it. Like, if someone around me has a child, I want to be like making food for them and dropping it off like without asking, you know what I mean? Or these types of things are like, if my friend needs help with their children, I want to like be able to be there for them, So in another, like we can dial back to what we were just talking about before, it is another adversity that's going to help me be a better person and able to like serve other people better as well. But it is so hard when you're in it, especially if you have a big family or, there should be people around you, and then you feel like there's not. That's really hard.
That kid's not bigger than you. Go back and get your money.
So speaking about uncomfortable scenarios where things can tip one way or another, you used the term in relation to authenticity on social media. Well, we were talking before the show started, and you used the term the Wobble Zone. And when I asked about it, you started to explain it. And then the Dan Vadeboncoeur in me said, no, save it for the podcast. And so here we are. Why don't you talk about your role in being someone who helps people shape their online presence, someone who has experience in a media firm, someone who is an artist, who is creating content, who has a YouTube channel, who teaches online. Talk about the Wobble Zone and what that is.
Yeah, so I just really strongly believe in being as authentic as possible. So I feel like that's how people can connect. That's how you can see yourself in someone else. That's how we can feel like as a community, we are all one. It's by being your authentic self, right? So I call the wobble is basically when you start to veer away from your truth or being authentic and you start to do something that's maybe performative or something that has an agenda or something that's not like your truth. Then you start to feel like a bit uncomfortable about it. And that's not what people are going to connect with, right? So I feel like the people who make content online that are the most authentic probably have a really good following, even if it's not number based. Maybe it's just like core people that are really like uh into what they're doing, because they're so authentic and people can like see that. It's like someone can like see your soul, or someone can like hit you at a place where like they really connect. So when you're doing anything in life and you start to feel that like weird feeling of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or like this doesn't feel quite authentic, that's called the wobble. And that's where you want to kind of step away from. So if you're trying, like, if you view someone, a good example of this is if you're watching a reel and it's a bit cringy, right? Like whatever the person's doing is a little bit cringy and you're like, that's a perfect example of the wobble. So that person is probably doing something that's not in line with their authentic self and is making you feel uncomfortable because of that.
So this is good for me to discuss, because I've been thinking about this a lot, but I don't have the same experience with it as you because I don't share as much content of myself online. So I think what you're describing in the wobble zone is like the ability to detect subconsciously the operant conditioning of platforms changing your behavior.
Yes.
Right? The platform wants
a huge part of it.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so you are sensing that. I think what you're doing internally in the background of your mind is you're saying, oh, something feels wrong. And the thing that feels wrong is that a platform wants a specific kind of behavior from you, but they don't tell you what it is. They instead change your behavior by adjusting how the app functions and adjusting how much attention is given to you under certain conditions. And the weight of that starts to change your behavior incrementally.
Absolutely.
And then that wobble, right? You feel yourself tipping over to be like, oh, well, if I only post this many times or at this time of the day, or if that's not human talk.
No, totally. And it's not in line with maybe your practice.
Yeah.
It's like a good example of that is like today, I was like taking some pictures while me and Greg were setting up today. And I started to feel a bit like, I don't know if this is like quite, like the best. Because I'm like, oh, I could make a post about this. Like I do want to share about my experience on the podcast and like how long it's been. But maybe that's not the best way for me to do it, right? And then I have to kind of...
And I mean, this is loving. Do you think that it's because you came in, we hadn't seen each other in a long time in person. We were having a good moment. And then it was like, oh, if only I could somehow share this moment with strangers, that would give me some more attention somewhere else. Do you think?
Totally. It's all part of that, right? So you're trying to balance creating content so that you can connect with people and share your life, but then also being present in moments with your friends and just like enjoying life, also being there, right? And that gets really messy and that gets really hard. And the wobble also, like we're talking about it in application to social media, but I use it like in my everyday life all the time, right? Like if your friend says something about someone that's not very nice and then you choose to engage in that comment and then you feel a little icky after, the wobble. Like you shouldn't have said that, right? Like it's a good place to help your conscience. Like your conscience can help you with the wobble in life.
Well, and I was just making the connection between a metaphor we used earlier of you on the high wire, balancing things on 3 limbs, right? And holding onto the wire with your toes. Maybe that's why you're more able to detect the wobble now, right? Because it's so much more important that you be standing on firm ground because there's only so much time you have to be there.
I love that analogy.
Right? So
I love
careful.
That.
Don't shake that kale too much.
That is literally me. Like you're drawing of me. Like that's me. That is me right now.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I didn't even think about that in relation to the wobble. Fascinating. My mind is blown.
That's what we do here is we just turn a bunch of Gregory's horrible doodles while he's giving a podcast episode into the content of the podcast.
It's amazing.
Take a picture of that for your Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the real.
This is the real. Yeah.
Well, and so you talked about the tarot cards. I've always found tarot interesting as a framing device. I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in magical thinking. I don't believe in any of that kind of stuff as far as like its practical application in your life. But I really do think mythological framing allows you to evaluate and have introspection in specific instances.
This, what you just said is fascinating to me because I feel like everything you say is magical. And I don't mean that in like a like ego, like complimenting you way.
Right.
I mean that in a like everything you say is like magical. Like all your references, all of your connections that you make, they're all like so magical to me. So it's really interesting that you feel different about it. It's just really interesting. I feel like that speaks to multiple truths, right?
Yeah,
The way that
definitely.
you're coming at something and the way that I'm taking
Absolutely
it
true.
is like
Yeah.
totally different.
And I think where some of that comes for me, you know, people like certainty. And so the notion that you would go to a priest, a guru, a teacher, a guide, whatever, however you're going to frame it, in order to receive certainty. This is how the universe is. Here, I'm going to prove it by showing you. All they're really doing in that proving is presenting you with 20,000 years of pattern recognition that you have inherited. And so you go, oh, I can see that connection in a way I haven't seen it before. And it feels magical. And I feel like that feeling of magic, I'm all there for it. That's what creativity is. But I think that if you are not using creativity regularly and consciously, it metastasizes into religion. And that is where I frame it, is that you offload it to somebody else to tell you what the imagination should be telling you already. Oh, I don't need to do that. I'm too busy to do that. But it's okay. I have outsourced it to this third party who is going to tell me what it all means. And I find that that is a real dangerous position that we are in as a society when you offload creativity and creative thinking and introspection to a third party. Because let's face it, people can be kind of awful.
Oh my goodness. We have a surprise.
A surprise visit.
Hi.
Which we may have to cut out. Okay, we won't.
Oh, we're not going to cut this out. Are you kidding me?
You're loving.
Oh my God.
Arrive.
Congratulations. I didn't even know that you had a baby.
This is not the right age for Patty to be socially activated. We went
She's
through
not a bum. She's a little kid who has no ability to relate to other little kids.
You want her to relate to him?
We were briefly interrupted by the most delightful arrival of Justin and his little perfect family.
Oh my God. That's so cute.
Now, should we have taken a whole bunch of real content, REEL content? Should we have taken selfies with that baby? Should I have held it up and turned it into the greatest
I thought about
baby put?
You did take a photo.
I
took a photo for the group chat so that anyone who's normally at the
I thought about it.
and normally at the studio that doesn't get to see the arrival of the little one, right?
But I decided not to because I don't put full-faced pictures of my children on social media now. So I might put like a partial face, but not like a full face. So and I never know how other people feel about that. So now I'm like hypersensitive to
Yeah, even as I took the photo, I said, I'm taking this just for the group chat.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I could tell you, as somebody who had kids at that age when Facebook was first becoming a thing and put tons of that stuff on Facebook, I've since deleted it all, taken it all down. And that's just that's good practice. For
Yeah.
sure. You feel so bad. Like if it was weird after, I'm like, my kids are now in their teens. They're not going to want baby pictures of them up on Facebook. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I kept them, but I'm not going to.
So
Yeah,
does that qualify as wobble? Is that the wobble? Were we feeling that wobble?
That would be the wobble of me pulling out my phone and taking a picture, whereas I don't feel like it's appropriate.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly.
So is that because we're growing as people or declining as a society? Both. Which is it? Yeah, which is it? Oh my God. I'm so like in the afterglow of seeing them here.
Beautiful moment.
That I've lost my train of thought. But really the whole frame of this episode is about balancing these really present, really essential, real things that we have to do with these other really essential, very important, real things that we have to do for ourselves. And
you know what's interesting is that people talk about like the fear around AI all the time. But I just wanted to share one thing. If I can get it out properly, I'm going to try and vocalize it properly. But basically, my brother sent me a reel, and it was a girl who asked an AI bot if what came for who created what? Did technology create the people, or did people create technology?
Oh, interesting.
And the answer was just totally fascinating to me. But basically, if I can articulate this properly, the AI technology said that
the chatbot.
Yes, the chatbot.
Let's not give it the sobriquet of intelligence just yet.
Okay, the chatbot.
Yeah,
that's good. The chatbot said that basically both people and technology are like frequencies, and that people have just tapped into the frequency of technology, but it always existed. And same thing goes with different frequencies surrounding people. And I'm just going to leave it there. But looking at it like that really helped me look at technology in a positive way.
Right.
Because I feel like there's a lot of like, ooh, like, I don't want to even say anything bad about it, but people are like, oh, things could take over the world and blah, 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 right? But technology is also very useful, and it's not all bad. It doesn't...
400 people with hammers could take over the world if they did it right.
That's right, right?
So
exactly. It's all like, as I say, niche to here, niche to there in my culture, which means like neither here nor there, right? It really depends on the application. So just watching that video, I felt was really interesting, because it's like, oh my God, I can look at it as a frequency, because I do believe in frequencies and all this kind of energy and blah, blah, blah. So now I look at it as a frequency, like not good or bad, just is. And that's really helpful to use it and apply it.
Do you feel there's a danger in having a available service on your device that allows you to offload critical thinking and make it a third-party application?
Totally. I think that is a really powerful conversation and good point that you brought up. Even using a chatbot to create grant proposals, or part of your proposal for something, is something that's a little wobbly, right? Because it's like that part is creative as well. Mm-hmm. Like telling your idea is also a creative process. But then at the same time, if you think about it like, okay, well then I would hire someone to help me with writing, because maybe writing's not my strong point.
Right.
Well, what's the difference there, right? It's very complicated.
I think an important framing device for the conversation around that, and why I'm really keen to call them chatbots and not intelligence, is because right now the technology can only give you an average. It can only take a whole bunch of stuff and give you the average of what's there. And so if you're below average, it seems like genius. And if you're above average, it seems like schlock, right? And if you're really good and deeply knowledgeable about your topic, you instantly see through it as a sham. And the problem is that if we, as a user base, continue to offload all of our expertise to third parties, we will never be able to know that we're just getting the average, and the average will continue to decline. So as people continue to use more and more of this averaging machine to create their content, the content that it's borrowing from will lower the average, right? It's like when you grade on a curve, right? Oh, that was a hard test, so if I grade on the curve, now you all passed. That actually didn't help anybody learn anything. All it did was make it easier for you to fit into a specific paradigm where you want everyone to be on a bell curve. And if that's all you're after, by all means, use chatbots all the time. Mm-hmm. But if what you're hoping for is innovation, is enlightenment, is invention, then you need to be able to make errors on purpose, which is really what imagination is, right? Is purposely introducing a aggregating error into a series of normal frames of thinking to produce a different result that people go, wow, how did you come up with that? right? If you know how you came up with it, I took the average of 5,000 other people's pretty good pieces of writing. What are we doing?
When you're sitting in your Chevy and your shirts are feeling heavy, diarrhea. Diarrhea.
Kevin, honey, where'd you learn that song?
Last summer at camp, Mom.
Ah, that was money well spent.
We got real high-minded there. Let's get our hands dirty again.
Yeah, let's dial it back.
Let's get our hands dirty. Brushes, paints, canvas, photos, color. These are things I've seen with my own eyes you use, but I've also seen you just go, no, I'm going to paint a butt right here. I'm just going to paint a butt in the middle of this painting everyone's working on. What if I just paint a glistening, round gluteus maximus and see what happens? Those
are the best times.
Right. Those are the best times. So
Yeah.
Tell me what art does for you that other things can't do.
I feel like it just takes me to another place, which is, I feel like, a very normal answer.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. It really is the truth. Like, it really takes you away from your everyday rat race type feeling of life, especially now. Like, okay, now I need to make 3 different meals to feed my family 3 times a day because I have, a toddler and a 6-month-old and then myself. And so there's so many things that I'm constantly thinking about, like the food, the dishes, the blah, 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 blah. Like trying to leave the house. It takes me about 2 hours to leave the house with 2 little children just to like get everybody dressed and get everyone fed and get everything. And the art really takes me to a different frequency where I'm in it all by myself and I'm just like riding it out. Like when you hit that flow state and you can just feel...
Love the
right?
flow.
You hit the flow state and you're
it's
like
3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I try and get there every single time I paint. And sometimes I can get there and sometimes I can't get there.
Can you turn it on and off like that? I find that fascinating.
Well, you have to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we look at it as let's look at
Can
the
you
flow
feel it
state.
arriving? Do you
Yes,
feel it coming?
absolutely.
And then you have to scramble to get to the canvas? Or
No,
are you
no.
on the canvas and then you're like, oh, here it comes?
That's like that.
Oh, no, the
More-
kettle's also boiling. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on the canvas and then I can feel it coming. And also music really helps me get there. So I can like play something that really like gets me going in a good way, like music wise. And then it helps me get to that creative space on my canvas like way faster.
So then I'm going to borrow from that woman that passed you in the hall at work all those times ago. Aren't you scared when you go to the canvas that it won't be there?
I'm never scared because I'm always excited to be there. Because now, like, being able to paint is a privilege.
Mm.
So, like, to have the time to paint is, like, straight up a privilege. So when I'm there, I'm, like, so happy to be there. And then if I can't get there, like, let's say I'm in some sort of funk. Sometimes I can get there in a funk, but sometimes I can't. So if I'm not feeling it, then I'll walk away. Because what you produce not in that state will not hit as well as what's in that state. So, and also, like, sometimes it's hard to get there in the ugly stage. So, like, previously I talked about the ugly stage where you start and everything looks terrible. Sometimes it's hard to get there. But then eventually, as your painting gets more and more layers and you're starting to see the beauty come out and you're starting to feel good, sometimes it's so much easier to get to that really elated state in that mode. And you have to think about that because everything's a process, right? You have to stick through the process to be able to, reap the benefits and feel all those good feelings.
Do you think that the ugly mode...
The ugly stage.
The ugly stage. Oh, yeah, not a mode. You don't want to be in the mode.
You don't want to be...
Ugly mode.
No.
Although a good amount of the end of December, I felt that was in the ugly mode.
Mm-hmm.
In the ugly stage, do you
January.
feel that is the time that people stop, they give up, they think I'm no good, and then that is why they're not pushing through?
I feel like this applies most to people just starting out. So when people are just starting out, they don't have the confidence to build their work. So a lot of times they'll hang out in the ugly stage from start to finish because they just don't have the skill set to really like know what's going to look beautiful, so to speak, right? For them. And that could be whatever, right? In whatever
Or just
context.
the perspective of enough failures that resulted in learning something.
Exactly. So I find like a lot of people that I teach painting to, when they're in their early stages of learning, they'll create a painting with one single subject.
Right.
And then once they feel like really good about that, then they're scared to add a secondary object or subject because they don't want to mess it up, right?
Totally.
So you really have to like push past that and see everything as a process, right?
Yeah. With drawing, what I used to do teaching people is I would, if they're like, oh, I'm scared to do backgrounds. Cool. We're going to spend all day working on backgrounds. And then we're going to take the figure drawing that you did. We're going to cut it out and glue it into the backgrounds that you did so that you understand how the two things would work together.
That's right.
You're afraid to have to redraw or think about what's going to be covered up. So don't.
That's right.
Right? Just put the two as separate abilities until you feel comfortable in how you would lay the composition. And then even depending on how much pushback there was, once they had done that collage element of their own work, then throw that on a light box and trace the whole thing over so that in your own hand, you're creating the full composition of midground, foreground, background.
So important. And actually, I'm using this in the commission that I'm working on right now. I'm using this to my advantage. So I have a composition that I drew. Okay. The painting is of a golfer taking a swing and then people behind watching him. It's like based in the 1950s.
And it's a commission, so someone has given you the content.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a commission. And they're like, I want you to paint this scene, but I want you to do something different with it because this is my 5th commission for this client.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, let's make it geometric and more abstract. They're like, great. So excited about it. I'm like, okay, great. So for the background, instead of putting my drawing and like starting together, what I want to do and what I have done is done the background as a separate entity to the composition so that when I lay the composition on top, I can see all these beautiful moments that I didn't try to make happen, that just happened. And then any, so to speak, moments that aren't really happening, then I can adjust those when the composition gets traced on, because I'm using a projector to project my composition onto the background.
But then now you're selecting the mistakes.
That's right. So I'm selecting the mistakes and the beautiful moments instead of trying to make it all a beautiful moment and stressing about what's going to land where behind the composition that I drew. So I'm using what we're talking about from the opposite perspective. So instead of trying to make it work, I'm trying to just let the flow state take over, which was hard, honestly. And I think it's harder at the beginning, right? But then when I superimpose my composition on top, there's all these really beautiful moments that I couldn't have planned if I was trying to make it all like work from the beginning.
Right. We talk about sometimes how style is just a mistake that you make all the time. Like other people would see it as a mistake if you only did it once, but since you're repeating it, it creates a pattern and now that's your style. Oh, yeah, that's how he draws hands. That's how I know that that's that artist. Or that's how they always do sunsets, or that's how they always have this blue wash in the back. Like you can tell a certain artist's thing that if it was just a one-off, it would be a mistake, but because it repeats, it's a pattern. And now that it's a pattern, it is intentional. And now that it seems intentional, it's their style. And I like their style because I can anticipate and imagine into the space in that style.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, like style is just also like what you've learned along the way. So your style is what I like and what I don't like. So every time you're trying to find your style, for anyone out there who's listening, who's trying to find their style, it's basically what I tell people is you just keep going. Because as you keep going in your career, like every piece that you make, you learn something you like and something you don't like, and you leave behind what you don't like and you continue on with what you like. So for example, I like strong, vivid color. So I'm continuing on with that every piece I go, right? I might not like a certain other thing, so I leave that behind. And then, I see another artist and I love how they used line in their work. So then I might add some line in my work as I go forward. And then, okay, I love that. So now I have strong, vivid color and some line work. And then I just keep leaving behind what I don't like and keeping with me what I like. And then your style emerges.
So we've been talking about you on the tightrope, you balancing things on one foot, on two hands, who are holding on to, and then the wobble comes along. And it made me think about again, in my misspent youth, I spent a lot of time around street performers. And I suddenly just realized, because the question I was going to ask is, when do we rest? And I'm looking at this little doodle, and then I remembered that there was a street performer I met who was a juggler. And I said, after a performance, I was like, oh my God, I do not know how you seem so calm during all of these things that you're juggling. You have like 20 objects juggling in the air. And he said to me, oh, well, they're all in the air, I'm resting. This is what I feel like. It's like when you feel like it's too much, maybe like too much to carry, you can't keep the balance. Maybe you have to start juggling it and start throwing it in the air. And like, it feels like you're taking the risk of like, oh, what if I drop it? Right. But if you think about it differently of like, oh, the weight's off me long enough to rest until I catch it again. You have time to take your strength training into account, right? You have to put the kid down in order to go and practice before you can pick them up again. You have to put the paintbrush down so that you can pick it up again. You have to have that space between, which gives you maybe the rest that you need.
And that's really hard. But you know how I frame that is, if I'm gaining energy from doing these things, then I can bring that back to help fuel my family.
Right.
But if I'm not doing these things, then I'm not gaining those energies or those good feelings that fuel me, then I'm not able to help my family as well. Yeah. So even though it's hard to, leave my baby for an hour and a half or whatever, right? I feel like it's necessary because, like you said, maybe those are my rests.
Yeah.
Right.
And the heavier something is, the faster it's moving, actually, the lighter it is as you're applying force to it. So if my physics teacher is listening, no, I do not remember the kinematic equations that you promised me I would, but I do know enough to know that as long as it's in motion, it's easier to keep in motion. So this has been Super Pulp Science. Cori Jaye, thank you so much for being on the show. This is Gregory Kamichuk encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics.